our kids are not for sale. We are not selling our kids out to multinational corporations for profit. We're not selling out our kids to multinational corporations for cheap labor. Kids are not for sale. Our kids are not for sale.
Do it one more time.
Our kids are not for sale. And we're not doing it for sure with absolutely no recourse for them if they are hurt or killed on the job, and you all know it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't put that in a bill, would you?
That's right. That's right.
Our kids, we see their dreams. You all see profit. That's why you're doing this. Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are for sale.
Small provisions in bills are huge. Just the provision to allow kids to take things off of rail cars. I don't know, anyone ever see what the heck happened in Ohio? Just because you're taking it, first of all, when the hell is a rail yard a place for a kid to work? There's no place for a kid to work. But just because they may not be unloading the hazardous material, and yes, I'm directing this to the lobby. Just because they're unloading something that may not be hazardous doesn't mean that there's not hazardous materials there. We have a Chernobyl in Ohio. And you all don't give a shit. You could care less. You're doing this for profit. You're selling our kids.
Our kids are not for sale.
Because look what happened in Marengo, right? Who knew what the hell kind of chemicals were in there? And they all exploded, whether there would have been kids working there or not. And I think it's really, really telling that after this happened, each family there, they got offered a $1,000 convenience fee. Because that's what you all think a Rust Belt family's worth. Our kids are worth a hell of a lot more than $1,000.
Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sandy Conway, United Steelworkers 105.
I'm Sandy Conway. I work at Arconic in Riverdale, Iowa. I'm a ultrasonic inspector. I'm a member of USW Local 105. Everything in our plant gets moved either by a fork truck, a crane, a vacuum, or hooks. It's no place for 14 or 15-year-old kids to be. I have two 16-year-old granddaughters. I've got two 14-year-old granddaughters. They have no business in that environment. They're not mature enough. They don't need to be there. And as for 12 and 13-year-olds doing sanitation at a meat packing plant, these are middle school kids cleaning big machinery, sharp machinery, and using harsh chemicals. They're sleeping through class. If they were getting paid a better wage, their families wouldn't depend on them as part of the family income. Bartending for a 16 or 17-year-old, I have to ask myself, what are you thinking? How many days is it going to take someone to see that there's a young girl bartending and they start watching her and pretty soon she's getting robbed and possibly killed? Our kids need to be kids, and not forced to be adults at 12, 13, or 14 years old. Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
I'm turning it over.
Thank you, sister. Thanks everybody for coming up, showing up today, and supporting our efforts to keep our children out of some of the most dangerous jobs. I think it's safe to say as we travel across the state and we listen to just how important child care is of prohibiting people from re-entering the workplace, this is not what we envisioned or what the people of Iowa envisioned for a solution to the problem. Putting our children in that workplace is not what was on the table. I think most of us thought the legislators should be spending more time on fixing that daycare problem than pushing our kids into dangerous workplaces under the context of worksite training. As someone who went through a union apprenticeship, I knew long before they were ever a popular thing, I knew firsthand how important it was, the training we received and the safety training that we received through that program to keep us so that we returned home every night after work. And not only was that training enough, we then got put with a mentor in the workplace to look out for us. Because as we have our youth coming into the workplace, it's important we look out for them because we know in the trades that's our future. Somewhere along the line that got lost in this state apparently with some of the legislators. I think this is easily, some of these legislators might joke about how serious we take this. But it does, all you have to do is Google the deaths and injuries that we see in our workplace every year to know this is no joke. This is going to cost somebody their life if things like these continue. It's already cost adults in Iowa workplaces. So when I read the bill and saw that the Labor Commissioner has the authority to further define work activities and grant waivers for exempted work, I can't help but reminisce and think back that this is the same department that has gutted our OSHA. So now we can't rely, one, it's too much to ask for a safe workplace for adults in Iowa, but our answer to that is to put the children into that workplace as well. It's fundamentally wrong. As somebody that comes from the trades, I understand all well too important how workplace learning is. The real need in Iowa and other states is getting our youth the hands-on experience that they need at middle schools. Look around your community at all the new middle schools that are being built. How many of those do you think have wood shops in them, industrial classes to get our kids exposed to this in a nonprofit and educational environment? These are those things that we're trying to seek for our children, not throwing them into a workplace under the preference that it's a for-profit company, and maybe a foreign company at that doesn't value our life like we do. For many reasons, the same kids denying them the experience only to dump them into the work environment, whereas time is money and so is safety, can only result in a combination of disaster. Surely as a state we can agree that it's more important to let our youth finish their school career before we force them in a workplace. We all know there's too many distractions in the world today, and the legislature certainly doesn't need to create another one.
My name is Melissa Brinkschroeder. I'm a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 5. I have 2 teenage grandchildren.
Loud.
I'm with UFCW 617 out of Lee County, Iowa. We're a very poor area where the living wage is inadequate to support even small families. This bill will put a lot of underprivileged children at risk in the manufacturing situation, leaving them at risk not only for harm, but to keep them from acquiring a high school diploma and a real quality of life. In the factory I work is very dangerous machinery, caustic chemicals, and high-risk situations that children aren't prepared to handle. I worked in early childhood development, and when I was raising my children, and was trained that children's brains are not developed until well into adulthood. This means they're not even cognitively able to make snap decisions that can protect them in the workplace environment where I work, where there's already been a loss of fingers and a loss of life. Putting them in the mainstream workforce at this age will condition them to accept this as their life and give them zero quality of life for their future. This is not what our children deserve from the adults that are elected to protect them and give them hope for a fulfilling future. Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
My name is Jesse Case. I'm with Teamsters Local 238. We're here for a very simple message. Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
Amy Sinclair is the president of the Senate. Pat Grassley is the House leader. And my dad worked in a packing plant, and I worked in a packing plant. I don't remember working next to any Grassleys in that packing plant. Whose kids are going to be working in these factories? Not there, not Grassleys. So we're here today to deliver a very simple message. We don't need more kids working in factories and packing plants. We need to pay higher wages for their parents so the kids don't have to work in factories and packing plants. But our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
Don't relieve employers from liability when kids get hurt. Strengthen work comp laws that you weaken, because our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
There's not a crisis of corporate profit in America. There's not a crisis of corporate product or profit in America. There'll be a crisis if more kids are working in packing plants and factories. Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
Don't cut school funding and send our kids to work in the factory. That's the exact opposite of the direction our state should be moving in. Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
We're going to deliver a message to Grassley, and we're going to deliver a message to Amy Sinclair. We're going to deliver this letter stating our position clearly on child labor in Iowa, because our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
So we're going to march peacefully right now, a short distance, to deliver a letter to Amy Sinclair, the president of the Iowa Senate, and let her know loud and clear that our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.